It was supposed to be a simple visit, just a few hours at my cousin's place while my parents were out for a meeting. They'd been insisting for weeks that I spend some time with him, but I wasn't exactly thrilled about the idea. We didn't see each other much. I mean, we were family, but we never had that deep connection that some cousins do. The awkward silences when we were in the same room said it all. I rang the doorbell, and a few seconds later, he opened the door. Nathan. I wasn't sure if I should hug him or just wave, but in the end, I gave a quick smile and walked inside. "Hey, I wasn't expecting you this early," he said, glancing at his watch, clearly not expecting me to be here quite yet. I shrugged, trying to sound casual. "It's fine. I didn't want to sit at home doing nothing." I made a face, more for my own amusement than anything else. We sat in the living room for a while, small talk filling the air between us. I couldn't help but notice how different Nathan looked from when we were kids. He was taller, his features more defined, and there was an intensity in his eyes that I hadn't remembered. Maybe I had just never paid much attention before. "So, what do you want to do?" he asked after a few moments of awkward silence. "We can watch a movie or something." I paused, weighing my options. I had hoped for something to occupy me, but I wasn't particularly thrilled with the idea of watching TV. Still, I didn't want to sit there and stare at the walls, so I nodded. "Sure, whatever you want," I said, trying to seem more interested than I really felt. We both got up and moved toward the TV. I noticed him move a little too quickly, like he was eager to keep the conversation going. It was strange. I had always thought Nathan was kind of shy, but today there was something different about him. "Actually, I was thinking we could hang out in my room," he said. "It's more comfortable." Before I could answer, he motioned toward the hallway. I followed him down the narrow corridor, wondering why he was acting so different today. As we passed his bedroom door, he pushed it open and gestured for me to sit on the bed. The room was tidy, but I noticed his bookshelves were full of things I hadn't seen before: old books, some obscure video games, and a few sports trophies. "Cool room," I said, trying to break the ice. "Thanks," he replied with a small smile, not meeting my eyes. "So, tell me, what's your favorite ice cream flavor?" I raised an eyebrow at him. Of all things, that was the question he asked? It was so random, so unexpected. He was looking at me now, his gaze a little too intense, like he was waiting for the answer to something. Chocolate, I guess," I said, feeling suddenly self-conscious under his stare. He nodded, his fingers drumming lightly on the side of his chair. "That's cool. I think we've got some in the fridge if you want some later," he said, his voice still a little too smooth, like he was trying to sound casual, but I could tell something was off. I shifted uncomfortably on the bed, unsure of how to react. Why was he asking about ice cream? Why did it feel like there was more to his question than just a random conversation starter? He stepped closer, his movements slow, almost deliberate. "Yeah, I like chocolate too, but I was thinking we could try something different," he said, his voice dropping a little lower. I didn't know what to make of this. There was something about the way he was acting now that made me feel uneasy, a shift in the air I couldn't quite explain. My heart skipped a beat as I wondered if he was just being weird, or if something else was going on. The room felt smaller all of a sudden. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but his presence was suddenly overwhelming. Why was he looking at me like that? Why was he standing so close? I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "I think I'll pass on the ice cream for now, thanks," I said, trying to sound lighthearted, but even I could hear the nervous edge in my voice. He smiled again, but it was different this time, faintly amused, like he knew something I didn't. "No problem," he said, his voice almost too smooth. "But, it's not just the ice cream that's different tonight." His smile lingered for a moment, and I suddenly felt trapped in that room. It was strange, the way the air felt thicker now. My heart was racing, and I found myself shifting uncomfortably on the bed. Was it just me, or was he acting different? He walked over to his desk, where a few books and papers were scattered around. I couldn't help but watch him, his every movement feeling a little too deliberate, like he was pacing himself, calculating something. The way he moved felt off, too calm, too controlled. And his words, the way he'd said, "It's not just the ice cream that's different tonight," echoed in my mind. I had no idea what to make of it. I forced a smile, trying to pretend I wasn't feeling uneasy. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I didn't want to sound scared, but the words felt harder to say than I expected. Nathan turned to face me, a strange gleam in his eyes. "I just mean that we've both grown up, right?" He took a slow step toward me. "I don't think things are as simple as they used to be when we were kids." His voice had dropped a little lower, and something about it made my stomach twist in a way I couldn't explain. He seemed closer now, standing just a few feet away. My heart started to race even faster. "I don't understand," I said, my voice wavering. I forced myself to look him in the eyes, but I could feel my palms getting sweaty. This wasn't right. This wasn't the cousin I remembered. Nathan took another step closer, his gaze never leaving mine. "We're not kids anymore, you know. Things can be different now." His words felt loaded, his tone too smooth, too casual, but underneath, I could sense an underlying tension. I stood up abruptly, suddenly needing space. The room felt smaller, suffocating, like the walls were closing in. "I think I should go," I said quickly, my heart pounding. But Nathan reached out and grabbed my arm before I could make it to the door. "No, wait," he said, his grip firm but not harsh. "You're fine. It's just, we're family. We can have fun together, right?" I froze, staring at his hand on my arm. This wasn't right. He wasn't the person I thought he was. His words felt wrong. His touch, even though light, made my skin crawl. I pulled my arm away sharply, stepping back. "What's going on, Nathan? This isn't funny. What do you mean by fun together?" For a moment, he just stood there, staring at me. His smile faded, replaced by a strange intensity in his eyes. "Come on. We've always been close, haven't we? Just relax. This is nothing new." I shook my head, backing away. "No, it's not. This is messed up." My voice shook as I turned and tried to open the door, but Nathan was faster. He stepped in front of it, blocking my escape. His face was unreadable now, and there was something dark lurking behind his eyes that I hadn't seen before. "You're overreacting," he said softly, but his tone had an edge to it now. "It's just, we've both changed. I'm just helping you see that." I swallowed hard, feeling my pulse thudding in my ears. I wasn't sure what to do anymore. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. His presence filled the entire room, suffocating me. "Please, Nathan," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "This isn't you. This isn't okay." He was silent for a moment, his face unreadable. Then, he stepped aside, slowly, as though considering something. "I didn't want to scare you," he said, his voice suddenly quieter. "But you were always so closed off, you know? I just wanted you to see that we could connect again. That maybe things could be different." I couldn't find the words. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of everything. But I knew one thing. Nothing about this situation felt safe anymore. I reached for the door again, and this time, he didn't stop me. I swung it open and rushed into the hallway, my breath shallow, my heart pounding. I could hear Nathan calling my name behind me, but I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I ran down the stairs, my feet slipping on the slick wood as I reached the front door. My hands were shaking as I fumbled for the handle, finally yanking it open. I stumbled outside into the cold night air, gulping in fresh breaths, trying to calm myself. I don't know how long I stood there, just breathing, trying to steady myself. I felt a strange mixture of relief and dread. I had never been so scared in my life. I could still hear him inside, his voice faint through the closed door. But I didn't care. I wasn't going back. I didn't want to understand what had just happened. I didn't want to know what Nathan had meant when he said things could be different. Whatever he thought was different, I wasn't sticking around to find out. I was gone. And I wasn't looking back.